Like it or not, when the year changes, it means you're just a few months away from one of the most dreaded days of the year, Tax Day. It's only January, but April will be here before you know it, and you want to be ready. Linda Sexton's here from Jackson Hewitt Tax Services to tell me more about it. Linda, it's good to see you again.
It's good to see you too, Danny.
Absolutely. Now, before this week and coming into this month and all through Christmas time, we heard about the fiscal cliff and taxes are going to do this and they might do that and yada, yada, yada. What are we looking at now after this has been resolved? Okay,
well, first of all, I'm sure you've already noticed that you brought home less in your paycheck. Okay, and that law was not, that they let that expire, and so people...
that was the payroll tax deduction.
Yes, that was the holiday tax deduction, so that expired. So that's one thing that people's going to notice. All right, the other thing is that the bush cuts have been, they have been extended, some for, just 2 years, some for 5 years. And the alternative minimum tax, there was a lot of hype about that, about people that was going to be affected by that, because when it was passed originally, it didn't have an inflation factor in it. And so now they have permanently fixed that. So that's good news, because most people out there didn't realize that a lot of them were going to be affected by it and just didn't realize it.
Because of the lack of the inflation factor.
Yes, that's right. And so for this year, there's some significant changes that's taking place this year, with taxes, and then also preparing for next year. That's the thing is, you should always be thinking about not just what's happened this last year that we've got to file, but when you do your taxes, you should be thinking about preparing for next year, because there's going to be significant changes there also. And so number one, you need to make note of the life changes that you've had. That is huge. That people, because right, if you got married, if you had a child, if you bought a home, if you even had a divorce, if you had, and so many times now, parents, are having to be took care of, family members.
Right.
That's a huge life change that people don't think about. Your children may have gotten out of college and moved back home with you. That could be a change in your taxes. And so these are all things that you don't want to leave tax money on the table. You want to take it home in your refund. And so this is not the year to go it alone. This is, you need to have somebody that is up to date with the tax laws, that they have a P10. Now, every tax preparer is required to have a P10, and they have the laws for the test that you have to pass with IRS. And the energy credit, that's one thing, be sure you're taking care of the deductions. They put that back in. So now the energy credit is back. And so a lot of people also think that they, the standard deduction is so high on federal, I'm just going to take the standard deduction.
Right, and not itemize.
And not itemize.
The rest of it.
But what they don't realize is Alabama has its own laws, and there's deductions that you can take on state that you can't take on federal.
Right.
And so you may be leaving money on the table. And also the state's very nice to retire a lot of retirees, and there's a lot of people paying taxes on retirement. Not all retirement's exempt to Alabama, but a lot are. And so a lot of people's paying taxes on things that they shouldn't be. And so they're leaving tax money on the table.
Throwing money away.
That's exactly right. And then also, I found it, and one thing that's very important, the latest news is that, IRS usually opens their doors for income tax, usually on the second Friday of January.
Right.
Well, this year they started out with the 22nd as their date. So they pushed it back to allow for all this that was happening with the fiscal cliff and all like that. Well, they just announced yesterday or day before that it's been pushed back to the 30th.
Wow.
And this is the release from them. And it's saying that that the majority, about 120 million households, should be able to start filing their taxes by January the 30th. Now, we're going to be hub testing. The hub testing starts the 23rd, so we're going to start the 23rd. We're already open, and we're doing taxes, and we're putting them in there and having them ready. But the remaining households, it's going to be late February, mid-March before they're going to be able to file, and they will have deductions and things that there's just certain credits and all that changes were made at the last minute that they're going to have to work on, and the IRS is just not ready for it.
Well, Linda, thank you so much for being with
You're
us today.
welcome.
If you've got questions about your taxes, call 205-339-1895 or find out more online at jacksonhewitt.com.